Rise up!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Hello, Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from CardsWire.com, USA Today's NFL wire site that covers the Arizona Cardinals, and recording on the eve of the schedule release. You will hear this a few hours, sometime before the NFL announces its full regular season schedule. Recording with Seth Cox from RevengeOfTheBirds.com, SB Nation's Arizona Cardinals site, and this is our pre-schedule show. Seth, it's the time of year where the NFL is, they are just trying to stretch out all the attention they could possibly have, because we're like, as we say every year, we know the opponents. Everyone knows who they're playing. So it's just a matter of which week and what time. But hey, people like it, and so we have to run trackers and keep up with every little thing. And even though, like, when trackers come around, no one leaks the Cardinals games. Nobody.
No, we're just lucky if the leak comes involving
yes. It's like someone leaked the 49ers schedule. Oh, we know when the Cardinals play the 49ers, or the ones that have come out so far, the official releases, and then one unofficial release, which is more of a leak, where we're like, well, the Cardinals don't play this team here. They don't have this. They don't have this. And that we're going to break a few things down and then basically make fools of ourselves with a schedule prediction. We did this last year. I think it was the first time we did an actual schedule prediction. But we'll talk about the announced games, the international games, a new little wrinkle into the streaming-only games. We'll talk about potential primetime games, and then we'll make our prediction. So we start out with, we knew that the Cardinals could have an international game. The only game that they would have been possible for would have been against the Colts, who are the designated home team for the game that's going to be in Berlin. And that might have been kind of fun for a couple of reasons, because of the connection the Cardinals had to Austria, as Bernhard Seikovits spent the last 4 seasons with the team, and the undrafted rookie tackle out of UConn, Valentin Sen, is Austrian as well. And so you would have the little connection. But, there were 7 international games announced. The matchups were set. Except for the Brazil game, which will be the Chargers. I've seen a couple of projections that'll be the Chiefs against them. So the Cardinals will not play an international game. I don't know how you feel about that. Honestly, if it's a road game, I don't really care either way.
Well, I will say personally, I typically don't care, but we have some big milestone anniversary birthdays this year, my wife and I, and so I was like, hey, that would be a lot of fun, go see the Colts and the Cardinals play in Germany in November. And I think I almost had her convinced, and of course it doesn't happen. so then it doesn't matter. But it was able for us to semi dissect some things, right? So we know for a fact that they will not play the Colts or the Falcons on November 9th, right? Because they play each other in Germany. So the Cardinals play both the Colts and the Falcons this year. So whenever November 9th is, that's the only thing I'm terrible about, is the dates and the weeks that are what week of games
that is. Week 10. I had to count it. It was week. Yeah. It is week 10.
So we know that week 10 cannot be the Cardinals versus the Colts or the Falcons. So that's a nice little nugget. We know that the Cardinals won't play Sunday, October 19th. against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, if the week 10 call is correct, you go back, 3 weeks. So week 7, they cannot play against the Jaguars. So,
and we knew they wouldn't have been able in that game anyway, because the Jaguars are one of their home opponents.
Right.
And the Jaguars are the designated home team for that game in Wembley in London.
And so like those, and then obviously the Rams play. So again, that's not the week that they're going to play or host the Rams, right? So they can't play week 7 hosting the Rams. So little things we were able to pull from it. But like you said, overall, this is not the Cardinals are not a team that generate enough interest online for people to dig and to really find out like certain things. Meanwhile, like obviously you and I run sites but we have sister sites that cover the rest of the league, and you can look at things like the Philadelphia Eagles or the New York Giants right now, right? And it is literally just like you just can't even keep up. They're literally just getting beaten over the head with content because that's what people love. They love trying to, find out if there's going to be a leak and they can get in on it early, so just little things like that. So it's always interesting as Cardinals, covering Cardinals, because all those little things just don't come to us like they do other teams.
No, and that's just because we're used to that. Now, these are the international matchups for this coming season. Week 1 in Brazil, we still don't know. So that's the first. You've got the Cowboys Eagles that are kicking off the NFL season on Thursday night. Then the next game, which will be a standalone game in Sao Paulo for the second year in a row. This time, the LA Chargers hosting a team that matchup will be announced on Wednesday. Although there have been a couple of graphics that seem to suggest that'll be the Chiefs. Then you get the Vikings are on the road they have international road games 2 weeks in a row, and I don't know if it was if this was intended for some funny historical thing, is where you get the Vikings taking over the UK, right? As they travel, they'll face the Steelers in Dublin, Ireland in week 4, and then the Browns in week 5 in London. So you've got the historic Vikings as visitors coming into the UK, probably pillaging those poor teams
right.
they face. You've got week 5 is Vikings, Cleveland Browns in London, followed by the next week Broncos Jets in London at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. There's 3 London games in a row. Week 7, that one will be at Wembley between the Rams and the Jaguars. Week 10, 3 weeks after that, that's when we get the Berlin game, Falcons at Colts, followed by week 11 in Madrid, Spain, Washington Commanders at Miami Dolphins at Santiago Bernabeu Stadium, a stadium I've actually visited a couple of times personally on my trips to Spain. It's a pretty cool look. And it looks way different than the first time. It looks like a spaceship.
Humble brag.
It's like the tour that I went on, the first tour got us in, and so for like a couple of euros, we got to go inside like one of the lounges in the stadium. It was pretty cool. I was impressed. So that was pretty cool. So the international games, that's what on the slate this year. There is one little wrinkle, and this is the first time I know there are a lot of NFL fans and experts and whatever that are growing tired of the number of games that are going to streaming only. We've got the Netflix game that's on Christmas Day. Last year, the Brazil game between the Eagles and the Packers was on Peacock only. There's always one of the wild card games is on Peacock. It's a game that's streaming only. You get the Thursday night games on Prime Video, which is streaming only. But they announced one thing which was interesting, because Peacock had that Brazil game. they got a December game, and it looked like it. Oh, so Peacock's getting a third exclusive game? No, they're not. They had that one moved because the NFL announced on Tuesday that the Brazil game is going to be streaming only via YouTube. The first time that it's streaming on a service that doesn't require a subscription. So that is, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I guess in terms of expanding things, this is a positive thing because, again, for the league, they're getting money for those broadcasting rights, those streaming rights. And this time, it doesn't require people to purchase a subscription.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty cool, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just another, it's another streaming thing. But like you said, it's cool that it's free. Like that's a definite plus.
The one thing I do have to point out is that these end up being extra games. The when they do the streaming, these are extra games, and it is important because while the NFL this is 100% a money grab. It's 100% a money grab, and like NBC wants to get a Peacock streaming only game because then it increases their subscribers. The same thing with Amazon Prime, the same thing with Netflix. They're just like, for all the people who don't already have one of those subscriptions, it's an excuse to gain subscribers. But what's important to note that even if your home team, now it sucks if you're a fan of a team elsewhere, like if we lived here in the Phoenix area and we were Cowboys fans, if the Cowboys were on a streaming only game, we'd have to stream that. But the NFL is very good about, if there is a game that is streaming only, the two teams involved with that game, their home markets will always have a free over-the-air local station broadcasting that game.
And it's always interesting because it's usually like the home radio announcers, so for years it's been, not that the Cardinals get it very often, but when they had that ESPN Plus only game, right? It was Passion Wolfley on the call. So they basically take the radio team and put them on the broadcast like they do in the preseason, right? So it becomes almost like, Suns Diamondbacks games where they have the local team making the call, and it's, it's a little more tilted towards the local team, let's be honest, but it's fun. So I mean, that is cool. We'll see. I joked with you guys the other night, right? Like
the primetime game, because last year the only primetime game the Cardinals got was that streaming only game, which was the B game. It was the B game when there was another game on.
And it was genuinely, I think, the lowest watched NFL game of the season. Like,
oh, obviously, 100%.
And people are like, oh, the Cardinals, nobody cared. Like there was a lot of like negative talk about it. And I was like, look, to an extent, I understand what you're saying, but like that was
Buccaneers Ravens was on at the same time on ABC and ESPN,
yeah, and again, when it's ESPN Plus only, you can't, like, what are you gonna do? Like you can't be like, right? So you don't have a choice. So so you'll get the local ones, but no offense, nobody's gonna go out of their way to go watch the Cardinals on ESPN Plus, and no bars are gonna put on ESPN Plus to watch the Cardinals Chargers when, like you said, Buccaneers Ravens was on.
And it's a game that kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Right, exactly.
9 p.m. Eastern. So coming up next on the Rise of Seared podcast, the Best of Cardinals Talk on the Web, let's discuss primetime games, primetime possibilities, and potential matchups for the Cardinals. That's coming up next on Rise of Seared. We're back on the Rise of Seared podcast, the Best of Cardinals Talk on the Web. Obviously, when it comes to the schedule release, I think what fans look forward to most are two things. And I think that's also what the teams do. I think you look at where the bye week is, you look at nationally televised / primetime games, and the potential for travel. That's as fans. And so what we look at is this time around with the Cardinals now appearing to be an ascending team, maybe there will be some intrigue for primetime games. Last year, they just had the one, and it was barely one at that. If you're thinking about how many primetime games the Cardinals get, we're going to make our predictions in the next segment, of course, but how many games do you think they're going to get this year?
You look at the schedule, and it's always a twofold factor, right? Like, who do they play? Because again, we're not going to get in this iteration. We're not going to get, Titans Cardinals, right? Like they're not going to put Cam Ward and the Cardinals on prime time, right?
Unless a Thursday night, maybe, but
right.
even then,
and they're not going to put the Saints and the Cardinals.
Geez, they are going to hide the Saints away so far, this year.
So the games you look at, intriguing teams like the Falcons and Panthers, teams that have huge upside, like the Texans, the Colts, and the Jaguars, and then teams that have elite talent, right? So you have the Packers, the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, the Bengals, and then of course always divisional games,
right?
So there's a nice this year, because the Cardinals aren't in the relegation section with the Saints. There are some nice matchups that we could see. So I think this year they double up, and I know people will be like, well, that's not much, but like, I think they get 2 actual primetime games, not a ESPN Plus doubleheader primetime game.
Yeah. I'm of the same opinion, and then of course the late season things. There's always the possibility if the Cardinals can be relevant, they might be a team that you might see flexed into one of those other primetime slots later in the season, the last month and a half.
Well, especially with who they could have later in the half, right? Like again, you and I are making up schedules here, but we're trying to like make some educated guesses. But like, could you imagine if in your scenario, right, you have a section, a section 4 game, so like that last fourth of the schedule, and a team like Tennessee or Tampa Bay are also in the mix, and so you've got the ascending Titans who under Cam Ward are fighting for a playoff spot, with the Cardinals, fighting for a playoff spot, or Tampa Bay, and you get the Oklahoma Heisman winners battling for a playoffs, one of the wild card spots late into this. Like, you have those intrigues, and again, you always have the divisional stuff. Like, we tend to see usually
it's almost always
games in the last 3 or 4.
Yeah, and the ones they always put on TV they're always the NFC East. They seem to always be the NFC East every single time when they flex those games for a number of reasons. Because one, the NFC East is still a very popular division, and 2, the division is often contested late in the year too. So there's that. So, but yeah, I actually wrote down I did a post about primetime game, the matchups that would make sense in primetime. I mentioned any divisional game, but specifically, and most of them are road games. It would be facing the Bengals on the road, the Cowboys on the road, the Bucks on the road, and then Packers at Cardinals. I think all would make intriguing ones. Joe Burrow versus Kyler Murray. We've seen Kyler Murray in prime time against the Dallas Cowboys. He's never lost at AT&T Stadium in his life. Murray against Baker Mayfield is always fun. And then, but the Packers they're good. They're a good team. And with a young quarterback in Jordan Love, and we experienced the primetime Packers Cardinals game back in 2021 when AJ Green didn't turn around. So those are always good matchups. But There are a lot of good ones. Like I don't think that Falcons would, or even the Panthers would reach the level of intrigue for that. Certainly not the Saints, certainly not the Titans. But yeah. And so, yeah, in fact, if you're ready, are you ready to make some schedule predictions? So let's do that. Coming next to Rise of Secret Podcast, Best Our Cardinals Talk on the Web. Let's come back and talk about how we will predict this schedule playing out, a mock schedule, which is even more ridiculous than a mock draft. That's coming next to Rise of Secret. We're back on the Rise of Secret Podcast, Best Our Cardinals Talk on the Web. Yes, we've been doing mock drafts for 11 years. This is our second year doing a mock schedule. Mock schedules are stupid, but hey, we can try to put something together based on things we know. Now, what do we know? We know they will end the season at home because of the Fiesta Bowl. Week 17 is always a road game. It will always be a road game that weekend in Week 17. That's why they always closed the season when they had the 16-game schedule. They always finished on the road. And so now, because they're always on the road in Week 17, I think that basically locks them in. Every year we'll be playing at home in Week 18, and that's going to be a divisional opponent. The last, I think, 2 or 3 years, it has not been consecutive divisional games to end the season. So that's kind of how I'm going with that. They've been on the road 4 of the last 5 openers. So I'm projecting perhaps a home game. And 3 of the last 5 years, they have opened the season against the AFC. So you get one of those interconference games to open the season. And then the one other one, in the last 5 years, they had one game opening against the division opponent. That was against the San Francisco 49ers. I think it was 2019. No, it was 2020 when they opened the season. That was Jalen Thompson and Isaiah Simmons getting cooked in the first drive. And then I look at how the NFL season opener is Cowboys, Eagles, and then the Brazil game is trend, like it's predicted to be a division game between the Chiefs and the Chargers. I think there's an outside chance that the league is going to have a lot of division games in week 1, but that's not the way that I went. I tried not to do more. I think didn't last year every team have a 3-game in a row stretch either on the road or at home? And I think it was the first year they'd done that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of complaints coming out of that.
And so we'll go back to the either alternating or doing no more than 2 home or road games in a row. And then it's just picking a bye. They've had late buys. It feels like it's been a little while since they had a medium bye, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that is the hard thing, right? They've had late buys and then they haven't had early buys. And that's always kind of the one you get, I don't want to say stressed about, because I don't think there's anything to stress about, but that's one of the ones that you always think oh man, that would not be ideal early in the season to have to go play 3 games and then get that week 4 bye.
Yeah.
By the way, why didn't they do away with that with the extension to 17 games, right? Start the bye week after at least week 5. Let's get through 5 games. But yeah, just
I don't understand
old man yelling at clouds.
So yeah, I picked the Cardinals to have their bye week in week 7, and I think you and I both agree. So we know they're going to play a division team at home. The last 4 years specifically have been 49ers and Seahawks. And so it's been a few years since they faced the Rams. And so I think that's kind of the way we're going. And let's go ahead and start this then. I have them starting at home this year. I feel like this is the year that when you look at the Cardinals, they're expected to be competitive. Okay. I think they've like you referred to it as the relegation part, like the Saints. And so They're going to hide them. And like the last 2 years, it felt like the Cardinals were being punished by the league, like one of those, not an actual punish, but a punishment that's not officially on the books. And so it's been a while since they've started the season at home. And so I'm going to say this, okay, they have slightly higher expectations. They're going to start at home, but I'm still going to go with the trend of playing an AFC game to start the year off. Now, I did this before I saw this graphic, and so I might feel like Nostradamus a little bit I have them opening the season at home against Jacksonville. And I saw a graphic from I don't know where, because I can't trust the internet right now, it looked like a week one, an NFL schedule graphic for week one, and it had the Cardinals at home against Jacksonville. I didn't see that and then make the prediction. I would just put piece of this. So I've got the Cardinals opening at home against the Jaguars, which is a fantastically winnable game, especially because they have a new head coach there. And while they do have more talent, they don't have continuity. So that's pretty good. And you have them on the road also against the AFC.
Yeah, and kind of for what you talked about, right? Like we've seen this ping-ponging effect with their games. And so, I just think that if it's not going to be a divisional game, and we've seen the NFL do that sometimes, right? Where they go heavy divisional week one, and you're kind of like, okay, all right. So I was thinking to myself, like, who's a kind of innocuous team, and I've been thinking for a while that it was going to be the Titans. Then a graphic came up today from Jordan Schultz, who's a little more reliable, right? Like a guy that gets a lot of things right. That said it was going to be the Broncos and the Titans. So I went with the Colts. So Arizona opens up on the road at the Colts.
And week 2. So the way you have it, you have them starting on the road and then playing the next 2 at home, while I have them opening at home and playing the next 2 on the road. I have them, and maybe this is just wishful thinking, I think playing Cincinnati early in the season is a great idea. They have a new defense. They have a new defensive coordinator. They were terrible defensively, and so whatever system they're going to have is not going to be fully in place. And while the Cardinals do have a lot of new personnel, they don't have a new system. So I have them on the road in week 2 against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I have them at home early against the Atlanta Falcons. So that's a sneaky that's like a sneaky Thursday night game. I'm not predicting this is a Thursday night game, but like the next 2 I have are like sneaky Thursday night games, right? Like,
yeah,
and I don't mean to make this sound like negative, but like while teams are still potential teams that could turn out to not be good are still intriguing. Let's get and the NFL watch is in full effect. Like, let's get teams like Atlanta and Arizona on prime time early.
Yeah. Week 3, I had it, and the way I like the league is really funny about division games, because they will sometimes spread them out, and sometimes you will have basically like 2 divisional sections of your season, and you have it more backloaded. And I've got basically got 3 times during the year where they're close, and I have them on the road in San Francisco, in Santa Clara, on the road against the 49ers in week 3, while you have them at home against
Tennessee. So again, another sneaky potential Thursday night game, right? Like, because like we talked about, you get Cam Ward's 1-1, and again, we have no idea what the schedule looks like, but Cam Ward's 1-1, Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are 2-0. Like that's a fun little matchup on a Thursday night. And again, Titans are relevant. We get them on Thursday Night Football. We check the primetime box. We got the number 1 pick in primetime. And then, like you said, later in the season, if things are going well, then they get flexed, So it's more of a reflection on some of their opponents. But again, this is not one of my calls either.
And then we're going to week 4. I have them playing a second consecutive divisional game. They're at home against the Seattle. So they knock out 2 divisional games in the first 4 weeks. going two home games, 2 road games. It's a fairly balanced schedule. So I have them week 4 at home against the Seahawks, while you have them on the road against the Houston Texans.
Yep, and just kind of what you talked about, this ping pong effect back and forth. The one thing is, remember, they're odd this year in number of road games, right? So they have 9 road games, so you can't ping pong completely back and forth. So, but they get those 2 home games, then they go on the road to Houston. And by the way, my next one is just wishful thinking. Similar to you, like 2 things. 1, potential good team late in the season. 2, potential weather late in the season. So, like, let's hope this gets out of the way quick.
Yeah, you've got them going to Cincinnati in week 5, and I have them on the road against the Colts in that week. So you get that. In fact, we both end up with, through the first 5 weeks of the season, half of their AFC South games, which honestly, those games, the NFC South games, those are games that we're going to want to see the Cardinals win, because those, that is considered a weaker schedule.
Right, especially with how porous they looked at times last year.
Yeah, well, they have so many questions. I mean, Houston, good. Jaguars were a disaster last year. The Colts, they're the most mediocre team, but they have quarterback, I don't know, because Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, neither one of those guys inspires anyone. And then, of course, the Titans, who were atrocious and have a rookie quarterback with not a lot of weapons around him. So they got to win those games. And when we talk about predictions, which is going to be our next show, we're going to make our stupid game by game predictions.
What the schedule looks like, yeah, makes more sense then, at least.
Yeah. So we go to week 6. Week 6. We both have them at home, but this is where I have them going prime time at home in a Thursday night game against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, and I've got them at home against the Seattle Seahawks. So, like, for just that week, that would be week 6. That would be a Thursday night game. They would kick off the week, so they'd play October 9th. And I would have them playing October 14th, which is interesting. The other thing that's difficult, and I don't know if either of us did enough. And I think we did a pretty decent job, but did enough research to go through and see if any of our games coincided. Because when do the teams get buys when they go overseas? Is it coming back or the week before? It's coming back, right?
I think it's coming back. I don't remember.
But I don't remember either, and that's why I'm like, I think this is what they do, but I don't remember.
Well, and here's the thing for me is I just had to make a swap on my schedule, because I had them going from having the mini bye to the bye. So they're not going to have a Thursday night game and then have the bye week the next week. That's not going to happen. So I just swapped games, and now in week 7 we actually have the same opponent. No, wait, no, I don't think you said who you have them playing. So I've got them playing the Packers at home at Thursday night, while you have them playing who?
The Panthers. So just Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Yeah, so Seahawks in week 6,
which is their first divisional game on your schedule.
Right, and so we'll see, because like Jess said, the way they've done it in the past is sometimes they've made this like a back heavy schedule, and sometimes they've spread it out. And I mean, last year they played 3 early,
and 4. And then, they were like 3 and 4 weeks as it was,
and then 3 late. So you're like, so that's the thing, is they come up with crazy schedules all the time.
I mean, that's good for them. I just see the schedule, and we pretend like we know what we're doing, and it's like, hey, there's this trend, but it's not really a trend. Week 7, we coincide, and that's only because I just now had to change mine, because my brain did not think through the fact they're not going to play on Thursday, and I've had the mini mind, then immediately have a bye after that. That's not going to happen. So I originally predicted a week 7 bye. That won't happen if they're playing on Thursday night in week 6. So I pushed their bye week to week 8, and we both have them playing at home against the Carolina Panthers. And for me, this is the only point in their schedule where they have consecutive home games. I was going to have them home by home, but this is the only time on their schedule in my predictions where they're going to have consecutive home games all year.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because I've got a lot of like back-to-back road, back-to-back home, and to see how it plays out. But I do have them coming up in a 3-game road trip with a bye sandwiched in between. So it's going to be interesting because week 8 you have that bye. I am at San Francisco, so kind of what we talked about, right? Two divisional games in a 3-week stretch, and then I have them going week 9 with a week 9 bye, so kind of midpoint of the season. You had them a week 8 bye, so we're kind of on the same page with that, right? That week 7 to week 10 bye time, and see if that works out for them.
And that, in terms of playing someone like San Francisco, that's not a bad deal where you play San Francisco and then get the bye. I have them coming off the bye, which actually is a really, considering the talent of their opponent, I have them on the road against the Texans out of the bye, which gives them an extra week of prep, which potentially gives them a better situation there. So we both have them mid-season buys. I have them in week 8. You've got them in week 9. You've got them playing the Niners the week before the bye. I've got them playing the Texans after the bye, which brings us to week 10. And I have them playing on the road for the second week in a row, and this is their second primetime game. They take on the Dallas Cowboys on the road on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and I've got them on the road as well. This is another sneaky primetime game. I talked about it. I don't think that they usually, like you said, get a bye, like a mini bye coming off a bye. So I don't think that they would get the Bucs if this schedule came to fruition, right, on Thursday night. But that's a game that could be a game that has primetime merit. Ascending Cardinals, fun Bucs team, the Oklahoma quarterbacks, that's fun. So week 10, coming out of their bye, going across the country, playing the Bucs.
And then we move on to week 11, where we both have them in the division. I have them at home against the 49ers. So they face the 49ers for the second time at home against the Niners in week 11, while you have them on the road against the Rams.
Yeah, and that's just, they're going to have to get those divisional games. And it's funny because we just have them flopped, but we have them back-to-back divisional games, right?
Yes, in week 12, I have them at the Rams, and you have them at home against the Niners. So 11 and 12, we have the same matchups, just flip-flopped. And then that puts them in position. So we each have 2 divisional games left, and the way you play it out is you have them playing divisional games in the final 2 weeks of the season. I have them playing division games in 2 of the final 3. That we've had their buys already. So week 11, I have in weeks 11 and 12, I have them at home against the 49ers and then on the road against the Rams. You have them on the road against the Rams and then at home against the 49ers, which brings us to week 13. Where I have them at home against the Atlanta Falcons. And
I just had to make a quick change because, again, I'm terrible with dates and weeks and things like that. So that is the week 13 is Thanksgiving week. So I don't think they're going to play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So
they could do it, but
they could. Yeah, I just don't think it's gonna happen. So I had to bail out of that one. So I just switched it up to the Saints.
Okay, there we go. You get the Saints in week 13 on the road, and week 14 I have them facing the Saints in week 14, and so you get perhaps one of those quote unquote cupcake games like the Cardinals should have had against the Panthers last year.
Right.
So it provides them with a game they should win, and we get to see late in fact, I have 2 potential weak teams in the final few weeks where the Cardinals can and should stack a couple of wins before facing potential playoff contenders the final 3 weeks of the year. So week 14, I have them on the road against the Saints. Who's your team? Who's your opponent in week 14?
I have them at home, and I went the opposite direction, Jess. I went with them getting the gauntlet thrown down here, and they're going to be against the Packers.
Okay. taking us to week 15, where I have them at home against the Titans. So, but they are going to have a 3 tough games after that. So they're going to week 15 at home against the Titans, and you throw in there another AFC South game to wrap up the schedule, but prime time, isn't it?
Yeah, Thursday night football, late December. This could be a trap, right? We've seen that the Cardinals have had some difficulties with that. So, late season stuff. So, but let's hope not. I have them hosting the Jags on Thursday night football.
Then come to week 16. I have them on the road against the Seattle Seahawks, wrapping up their schedule against them. In fact, I have them going road. They'll play 2 of the final 3 games on the road. So they're at Seattle in week 16. You have them on the road, but this is where you have them taking on Dallas.
Yeah, so late in the season, hopeful that this is what it looks like, because I'm not convinced Dallas is going to be good again. So, I'm hopeful.
Week 17, rather than going consecutive division games, that's why I put the Seahawks in week 16. I have their road schedule wrapping up on the road against the Buccaneers, who've won the division, won the AFC South, the NFC South the last 4 years. So you get a late season, probably playoff meaningful matchup while you have them on the road in primetime.
Yeah, Monday Night Football late in the season, really scary if you're a Cardinals fan. But in Seattle, I think this is going to be a game where it's going to have playoff implications for the Cardinals, and it's going to be a real test to see where they're at in this progression.
And then they close the season. We both have them at home against the Rams, which was the only game left on the schedule. They haven't played the Rams in the season finale, and I think since 2020 I was looking at. But because they spent the last wave was San Francisco, Seattle, San Francisco, and so now they get that season ender against the Rams, which probably decides the division one way or another, whether for the Cardinals, for the Rams. Not necessarily if the Cardinals are in contention for the division, but it could mean that if the Cardinals win, their division winners. If the Rams win, their division winners, or if the Cardinals win, the 49ers are division winners. Who knows? But that game will matter. That game we won't know. They never schedule the Week 18 games, but we always know that we will get a 4:30 p.m. or 4:25 p.m. Eastern, so 1:25. I'll be for at that point 2:25 p.m. kickoff game in Week 18. We always do, because the division doesn't we don't get the Saturday games. We don't get the primetime games. So we will see Rams, Cardinals, and 49ers, Seahawks in Week 18, kicking off at 2:25 p.m. Arizona time.
And Jess, I think you're gonna be happy. You got one right for sure.
Did you see something come across?
Allegedly, our good friend Johnny Venerable just tweeted out the Arizona Cardinals will host the Seattle Seahawks Week 4. The only thing you didn't get right is they're saying that'll be they're one of their primetime games, Thursday night football.
Ooh, Thursday night football. Oh, Thursday night football games with the Seahawks. Let's bring back number 6 ties. Stop it.
It's gonna be fun.
All right, so we've made our schedule predictions. I will get this up early. I will try and get this up early on the site on Wednesday, so that you can hear it before the schedule, and then you can immediately mock us at the stupidity of doing a mock schedule, because it really is. We will try and do another show this week. We'll see if we can do that and do our game by game predictions, and then we'll probably take a week off. Next week or maybe even a couple of weeks off. I'm not sure yet. We'll have shows. Don't worry about it. And if Seth and I can't do one, I've got some story time that I can tell you guys about. I'm not we make the Cardinals a story. But this time, being a podcast, I'm going to make me/us a little bit of the story, because it deals with the Cardinals and some pettiness and some stupidity, because, yeah, things are different this year. But anyway, we wrap this up. This is the Rise of Spirit podcast, the best of Cardinals talk on the web. We'll be back again soon. That's Seth Cox. I'm Jess Root. Thanks for listening. As always, we shall return soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up, See Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up, Red Sea, be red, see red, and of course, rise up, see red.
Roll!